I created a tool to animate your trading charts without using After Effects. And in this video, I'm going to show you step by step how to build a trading setup using ChartAnimator. Once you come into the editor, you'll notice in the top left-hand corner, you have a bunch of different selections in the nav bar. So first thing we want to do is we want to pick the candle builder we're going to use to build the scene. And I'm going to use the zigzag builder. The zigzag builder allows you to build candlestick charts super easy, and you can animate them to look amazing. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to build a bunch of different legs. I'm going to take away the glow. So in this idea, what I want to do is I want to build an SMC trading setup where price is going to reach for liquidity or reach a demand or supply zone to grab the liquidity. It's going to grab the liquidity and we want to animate the whole process out. So what we're going to do is we're just going to increase the height, the width, so you can see we can make the candles look exactly the way we want them to look. The wick detail, so we can bring out the wicks. We can increase the width of the wicks so they're a bit thicker. There we go. That's starting to look really nice. So now we've got this cool feature over here called leg edit mode as well that can increase the size of the legs. So what I want to do is I want to make price breaking structure to the upside and then breaking structure and then reaching for a supply zone at the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a supply zone. You can see over here we've got our zones, we've got supply zone. So add in a supply zone. I'm going to remove the outline so it just looks like, and there we go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add a label inside of that. We're going to call it supply zone. So that'll animate out when the animation begins. And then we want to create an animation for the actual sliders. So it slides out to the side. You want to make your animations look super cool. So we've got that over there. So you'll see it slides out. We can slow that down. That slides out. Okay, fantastic. So now we've got our supply zone and we've got our trading candles. So the candle is going to reach up, tap into the supply zone, and that is going to be the zone where you can either start paying attention to look for your entry, but we're just going to animate the process of it tapping into that zone. Once it's tapped into that zone, we want to create a really cool effect. So the effect I like to use is if you grab the circle and you throw it on, the circle has an option to add the pulse waves to it. So what I do is I turn off the border, turn off the fill, and then I come down to pulse over here. And you can select pulse, so it pulses from the inside of the circle and the outside of the circle. And what we're going to do is we want to change the color of the pulse waves to red. There we go. And then let's test this out. There's so many different kinds of pulse waves we can add. We can really customize it quite nicely. You can see down here we can add more rings. You can make them bigger, smaller, different kind of pulses, expand outwards, fading on the outside if you want, the thickness of the pulse. So let's see what we've got over here. That's pretty cool. So that's basically what's going to happen when price is going to tap into that region, and then it's going to show this effect going off, almost like an alert alarming you to pay close attention now. Once we've done that, now we're going to focus on animating in the candles. So what we do is we right click on the candle, we click enter and exit. This gives us an enter and exit animation. I like to use drop in. I'm going to use the maximum size over here. And let's see how that looks. It drops in, taps in, fantastic. So now we've added the drop in. Now I also want to add an animation too. So we can come to the reveal animation, click on that, and we'll select auto. Let's click live. And now it will actually animate out and drop in. It drops in, animates out, taps in there now. Okay. So what you've got to do as well, you've got to create some kind of coordination where you've got to coordinate the layers to fit perfectly with the timing of the event. And as you can see, the candle taps in at specifically this timing at the 5-second mark. And that's where I want to put in the circle, because the circle or the pulse wave will only begin specifically at that time. All right, so let's play this out. Go candles, supply zone. The price taps in. There we go. Alert you. So now that price has tapped into our supply zone, we want to zoom in to start looking for an entry, because now we're paying attention. So what we can do is we can cut to another scene where we zoom into a lower time frame chart and we can show people how they can enter. So what we'll do at this point, it'll cut the chart. It'll stop playing, and then we will zoom in. So what we can do is we can duplicate the zone because we want to continue the zone. The price will zoom in over there. What we can do is we can increase the size of the zone, bring it down around about here, and then we can duplicate the candles as well. So that we've got the same structure going on, but we don't want to use all the candles. We only want to use the end, because we're going to focus on just the entry. So what you can do is in the zigzag, you can come up here and you can see we've got all these layers. You can actually start deleting all the layers we don't need because we only need this last stretch of candles over here. And basically this is just going to be a zoomed up view. We'll zoom in a little bit more. So what we want to do is, depending on how you like to teach and what your strategy is how you will teach this process. When price comes into a higher time frame level or zone, what kind of entry are you going to teach? So I like to teach a CISD entry. So what happens is prices comes down here, it forms a base. And I'm just going to do this very quick for you guys because I just want to illustrate how it's done. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect, but you can see over here we've got the base being formed. Here's another base being formed. Nice flat base. Then we've got this displacement into the level, which will take out the liquidity. Once price takes out the liquidity, okay, and I also want to make this a bit bigger. There we go. So it kind of looks like it's just zoomed in. This is just to help us understand, because you want to teach your audience how to win their trades. So it taps into this level. So price comes up. Let's just say this might have been how it functioned. So price came down, it came up, formed a base, and then took out liquidity. And then we can come down over here to our layers and we can add another candle. You can see this adds more candles. If we click on zigzag tool and then we come to our candles, we can add 2 or 3 more candles. So what I want to do is, so now that we get the failure to displace happening, failure to displace, and then after the failure to displace, we get this big movement to the downside, which takes out the CISD level. Once price takes out the CISD level, that is precisely where we're going to look for an entry within this explanation that I'm teaching. So price takes out that level. We want to use a nice line tool, come down to line tool, add it to the chart, add a nice red. So this is going to represent the CISD level. And when the CISD level is broken with a candle closure, that is specifically where we're going to look for our entry. So now also what we want to do, you want to notice that this plays out. You can see it taps into that area. Once price taps into that area, we want to create a pause just for a second. On the zigzag, if we go down over here, you can see it's got pause points. So as price taps into that level, we can actually pause it. Price taps in, there you go. So we want to pause that just for a second or two. Let's play that out. Price taps in there, it pauses, which is basically the liquidity. So liquidity gets taken. So you can see now, once you pause it, it'll pause when price taps in there, wait a second or two, and then it plays out. And then I want to pause the actual CISD break. So price taps in there, takes out liquidity, waits a second, then takes out the CISD. As it takes out the CISD, we also want to have the CISD line being drawn, which it can come a little bit earlier. There you go. So we want to animate the CISD line. We click reveal animation, and there you go. We can increase the speed of that. There you go. Once price breaks the CISD, then what we want to do is we want to grab a short position tool. We can add that onto the chart. So you can see now we got the short position tool. We can add it on there. So that's our entry. Stop loss above the liquidity. And we're going to take profit at the lower liquidity levels over here. So this is relatively a 1 to 2, 1 to 2. If you come to the top, you can see it's a 1 to 1.0. And then what we can do, there's many different options for each of these things. And I encourage you to go explore them, test it out. The link is below if you want to test this out for free. So what we want to do now is we want to animate the short tool. There we go. So let's animate it out. Perfect. And then I want to add a cool little animation to finish this off. So basically it's just going to be a little confirmed signal, which is showing everyone now that it is confirmed to enter the trade. So this confirmed can just pop up over here. All right, let's play this and see how it plays out. So price goes towards supply zone, taps into supply, we get that radiation. Then we zoom in, we get the break of structure, sweep, displacement, confirmed, and entry. So that was just a very quick example of how you can use ChartAnimator to animate your trades, build your strategies, and educate with your audience to show them exactly how to do the process. Click the link below, test it out for free. It's definitely going to help you with your trading explanations.